Pro-revenge. Toxic boss told me to go home, so I did. The fallout was glorious. I worked at a restaurant. We had a front salad bar, a buffet with a salad bar, as well as things like a juice bar, an ice cream counter, and a small alcohol room with a bar. It was very popular and also a bit expensive, but somehow so underpaid, understaffed, and poorly managed. Jenny is the daughter and the only child of the owners of the restaurant. She is extremely spoiled. She almost always gets her way, and she has a temper where she will get angry and just berate the person for an hour straight. She used to come in screaming at everyone for no reason and made racist or nasty jokes. She would push people to come in sick and then ask why they were so slow. She was just the typical manager from hell. Marco, one of the kitchen managers, is the son of a family friend and a beloved member of the community. His management consisted of micromanaging, criticizing our work, blaming random people for things, giving extreme time constraints for tasks, encouraging everyone to smile, and going around asking people while they were in the middle of working their 3 jobs when they wanted to come in the next day or if they would like to cover a shift on Saturday or whatever. He would forget to do things and then blame other people. Then he would go around criticizing people for their time management or responsibility. Anytime we reported that something was broken or something was not working, he just told us to figure it out, and nothing would be done about it until Jenny came in screaming at everyone and narrowed it down to Marco. We had other managers coming in and out. They could not take it. There were people who were suddenly hired to take on big positions despite having no idea what they were doing, or joined with less than a full day of training just because the place was desperate. The waitresses were paid less than $4 an hour, and some of them were doing part of the dishwasher's duties, front manager duties, and cleaning jobs, including the kitchen and employee bathroom. I want to say dishwashing was the worst, as 3 different people would come to work drunk or high every day just to tolerate everything. My coworker DJ kept up even when other dishwashers were not working, helped me or the waitresses clean, and literally had to monitor food that was cooking, and he would keep track of orders because the manager Marco and the chef wanted to mess around or go stand by the door and smoke. There were days when staff members would break down or get sick pulling a double shift, and he did everything for them. There was no choice. My job was preparing and filling food items for the main salad bar in front every day, and some days I also did the salad bar in the buffet. I had other things to do as part of my normal salad and buffet job, including making food for reservations, preparing and stocking the juice bar, and helping move stock into the freezers and fridge. On top of that, I was packing non-salad food for delivery and takeout, helping maintain and stock up to half the buffet, helping waitresses keep up with serving and bussing, doing ice cream and desserts, cleaning the whole kitchen and storage areas and customer bathrooms, helping the bar staff, helping at the front desk whenever I was out, and preparing ingredients or fetching things for the normal chef and buffet chefs. All for a little more than minimum wage. I fell every day because I was running on wet floors, and I had a heat stroke and even had to go to the emergency room for injuries. On buffet days, I had a partner, but that did not matter. She just stood around right in front of the manager, Marco, talking to her cousin who worked there while watching me work, and both she and Marco would take breaks every now and then to criticize my work or my speed. Everything was held together by DJ and me. We were teenagers on energy drinks, so we took whatever was coming to us. We kept everything going so well that we got scheduled to work almost every day, then every weekend. Jenny gave us free soda privileges, and we got raises 2 times in 5 months, which were only 10 cents, but they looked good to me because my dad praised all of my paychecks. He did not know what was going on and that I was working crazy hours, and he thought I was overpaid. Most of the customers were very sweet, so we tried our best to be of service, and a lot of them were regulars or people who came in to support Marco or everyone. There was always so much pressure on DJ and me. Also, DJ is not white, and he would always get racist jokes and comments directed at him. Marco and Jenny either did nothing or were the offenders. Most of the criticism, or Marco's projection, went to him, despite him doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing and occasionally messing up due to extreme stress or time constraints. After a certain point, almost every criticism was race-based in some way. One horrible Saturday, there were 3 times as many reservations as usual. On top of all bars and the buffet being open, I clocked in and found out one of the managers let go of DJ the afternoon before. Absolutely no one knew why, including DJ, and I am really assuming it was Marco. I already had zero hope for the day, and the only thing fueling me was the customers and my paycheck, of course. In just the first hour, I passed Marco at least 5 times trying to get things done. There was one time we accidentally made eye contact while I was helping a waitress, but at some point I went to the freezer in the back to help load some ice cream in, and he happened to walk in at the same time that I was standing there for 3 seconds, doing nothing, waiting for my coworker to bring in the dolly. He gave me this frustrated look like, "Get back to work." He caught me maybe a half hour later while I was coming into the back of the kitchen near the freezer to mop up some spilled water. The final time he caught me, I was in the freezer again, looking at the inventory to see what fruit we had enough of, because I could only serve what we had enough of in case people requested more. And Marco had enough. He said, "The place is busy as hell, and you were in here just scanning in the freezer for like 4 hours. Go home." I gave him this look like, "What the heck?" And he reiterated that I was done for the night. I was not arguing with Marco. This was not my problem. I just said thanks, took my apron off, and headed out. Both the employee doors were blocked by trash cans, and my partner standing there with a whole cart of things talking to her cousin, so I went to use the main side door in the front of the restaurant. Jenny saw me and asked where I was going. I put on a smile and said, "Man, Marco is the best guy ever. He just randomly came up to me and told me to take tonight off." Jenny's face went from confused to shocked to livid in the span of 1 second. She quickly told me, "Do not go just yet," and she stormed into the kitchen screaming, "Marco!" I pretended not to hear her over the music and customers, and I just turned around and left. I got over 10 phone calls, but I simply let my phone ring. I waited until my partner updated her Facebook status with, "Finally closed, girls' night time," or something like that, and I finally texted Marco back and gave an apology that sucked up in the most condescending way, but in a way that was personal, that only he would understand if he were to show it to someone. I came back the next morning, and it was a complete disaster. Marco and Jenny came in looking dead tired because they spent the rest of the night and overtime working hard, trying to keep things going. There were actually dishes and trash bags piled up, and both the buffet and kitchen were wrecked because Jenny and her dad did not want to keep the workers late and pay them overtime. The restaurant had to close for the summer. They posted all these job opportunities in schools and on Facebook and eventually opened back up, but I never answered, and DJ did not accept amends, so it was a whole spiral. Because of me leaving and DJ being fired, they had to close down their ice cream and minimize their buffet, and they now close earlier because they can't handle it. There are fewer customers supporting Marco, and there were even customers saying they're not coming back until Marco or Jenny leaves. There's a waitress who joined during my time there, and it was her first job ever. Now she is the only previous employee left, and she ended up getting appointed as a manager at some point. I think they had to offer her a lot of money to stay because she bought a new house. Marco is the only other manager now. Marco is still asking me to come back, and since I deleted Facebook, I kept that phone number open with prepaid service on my old phone just for the purpose of reading his texts during my lunch. Too long, did not read. Horrible place, accuses me of doing nothing, loses everything. Top comment. Oh yes, Dad's classic, "You must be overpaid because your wages are way more than double what mine were when I was your age, so people must still survive off that. And if that really was that little, we would raise minimum wage. And if I ever have to actually understand how little money that actually is, I would have to accept my part in this system." As for me, this story is very interesting and evokes a lot of emotions that are just waiting to burst out. If so, don't hold back and write what you think in the comments. And we'll move on to the next story. Pro-revenge. Property manager mocked me. I got her fired the next day. This is a long story, but I still enjoy it. A long time ago, I was foolish enough to rent a house within the control of an HOA. I have since learned better. This property was managed by a company called City I Lived In Properties. They had purchased the house within the HOA and rented it to us, but given that I was not actually a member of the HOA, I was just a renter, it became a very convoluted mess very quickly. We were told that we would need to adhere to the HOA guidelines, but we could not talk to the HOA directly, nor would we be able to receive a copy of the rules. They said it was not that serious, and most of their tenants never heard from them. I should have said no right then, but I was young and foolish. The day I arrived at the property to move my belongings in, I was informed by my landlord that I was being fined $100 for my trash cans being visible from the street. Apparently, because my trash can was delivered by the city 2 days prior to a place I did not have access to, it was my responsibility to have driven across town and broken into the backyard to move the trash cans. The first infraction is a warning they never passed on. The second is $100. They said I was responsible for it, especially after the warning I literally never received. Then they told me that they would only accept payment in person going forward, even though my deposit and first month's rent were paid online, and it must be through a money order in person. Then they informed me that the office for City I Lived In Properties, which I had never been to, is actually a 2-hour drive away, totally not in City I lived in. I told them this was my first day in. I got the keys 1 hour ago, and there's no way I could have done this correctly. Surely it could be explained to the HOA that this could not be my fault. They said, no, I could not talk to the HOA because I was not a member and could not see the rules I was supposed to follow because the HOA only allows copies for members. Then they pointed me to a single line in the rental agreement that said I would follow the rules. After far more back and forth than should be required for something so ridiculous, we came to an agreement that they would cover the fine, but for some reason it was impossible to waive the record of the infractions, and I would be halfway to eviction on day 1. All of it counted against me, but they would cover the $100. I asked if there were any more rules I needed to be aware of up front since I could not get a copy of the rules. They told me I had to mow every Thursday because that and the trash can issue are what typically get people in trouble. They do a walk-by on Fridays. If we mowed on Wednesday, it would be too long by then, and if we did it on Friday, they would count it as not done. I mowed the lawn every Thursday for months and kept my head down. I never even spoke to a neighbor or did anything to draw attention to myself. Around 3/4 of the way through the lease, I received a $400 fine on Friday, with a photo taken nearly in my backyard of my grass with a ruler next to it, which I had just mowed the day before. I had missed a single tuft of grass behind the air conditioning unit. It was less than half an inch above the rest of it. They had walked through the yard to the back corner with a ruler to find an issue. They said this put me on my final warning before eviction unless I could prove it was cut by a specific landscaping company owned by someone in the HOA. Apparently, the HOA only accepts work from them, and it is the only way to reverse a fine. I fought it hard, but ultimately I paid it because I was almost out. Then I started to pay to have it done by that company and kept receipts just in case. Around 2 months or so left in the lease, I received another notice. This time it was a $600 fine and a formal letter stating that I would be evicted, with a picture of my grass fully mowed. No ruler, no indication that anything was really wrong, just a wide shot of my house with cut grass. Since the last time, I was told that a receipt proving it was done by them could clear it up. I called the landlord, offered to show them the copy of the receipt, and told them to look at this picture or come by with a ruler, but it was done correctly. I figured it was a misunderstanding, and there's no way I'm actually getting evicted over this. A woman, whom I had never spoken with, answered the phone and came in aggressively from the start. I calmly explained the situation to her. She was not having any of it, cut me off mid-sentence, and said I had to pay $600 today, then they were going to evict me. She refused to look at the receipt or the photo, told me the buck stopped there, and it was my fault for being a bad tenant to just save my breath and start packing. I told her I did not recognize her voice and that I had been dealing with someone else. I asked how long she had been there. 2 days. I just started, she said. I asked to speak to someone else who might have more experience. There is nobody else. We do not need to continue any further than you giving me my money, she replied. I started to say, I think I need to speak to someone else again. Nobody else works here, and no one cares what you think. Stop trying to get out of it and be a man, she said. I'm a pretty easygoing person, but now it was the principle of the thing. I said, I am pretty sure someone cares what I think, and I know they did not just hire you and leave you alone in the office. She responded, then go write your opinion on Google or something where we can all go back to ignoring you. If you call back, you are only ever going to talk to me because this is not worth anyone else's time. I said, oh, do not worry, I will get right on that, and I promise you are going to care in the end. Then this woman started listing off review websites, saying that they do not care and no one cares about me. Go to Yelp, go to this place and that place because no one cares, she said. I wrote them all down. I asked for her name, she gave that too, and I wrote it down. Then I told her I would be in touch. Cue the malicious compliance. This was early in the morning, and I had to go to work, but it was an office job that allowed me some leeway in when my work could be done, as long as all of it was completed before the end of the week. I cleared my whole day. I did not get a single other thing done. I found every online site that even remotely mentioned them, and I wrote an entire scathing review on every one of them. Not just copy and paste, but fully detailed in every single place, fresh. I even contacted the local news organization, though they never got back to me, but the attempt was made. I criticized them thoroughly in every method I could. Their website, Yelp, Google, Zillow, every single place that had a message box. I was doing it in bed, up to the point I passed out late that night. Most of these places had no reviews or one 5-star review, so it definitely did not go unnoticed. At 8 in the morning, I received a call from the vice president of the property company. She had flown in from Florida, where she was on vacation, to figure out why they suddenly had all these very negative, very specific reviews. I said, "Oh, so there is someone else who works there?" The vice president told me that she had read the reviews and that while she was sorry this was my experience, it was libelous since I wrote it in a public place and they would sue. I told her it is not libelous if it is a true account of my experience, which it was. I added that her new employee even told me the places I could write my opinion because no one was ever going to care what I said. I was just following instructions. They were also evicting me based on something that was demonstrably false, so it's not like I had anything to lose. She got really quiet, then puffed herself up and started getting an attitude saying I would be hearing from her lawyers soon. I said, "Oh, great, were they on vacation too?" She hung up. I think it was 1 or 2 hours later when I received another call, this time from the president of the property company. They looked at my receipt for the lawn care and looked at the photo and saw that it was very obviously wrong and were dropping the charge. We were not going to be evicted. Not only that, but they had straightened it out with the HOA, and the first 2 infractions were also dropped. My $400 infraction was actually only a warning as a first infraction, so I would be getting that money back. To top it all off, the unpleasant woman who told me that no one would ever care what I think was fired by him personally before the call, which is what took the 1 or 2 hours. Apparently, she was in tears. They asked if I would take down or at least revise some of my reviews so it didn't ruin their company's reputation. I left them all up, even after I moved out, and never answered another call from them again. Someone's dog may or may not have also taken a dump underneath their doormat and accidentally stomped on it after a 2-hour drive to drop off the last money order. It's impossible to tell really, but who cares anyway? Top comments. Comment. Adherence to HOA rules by renters must be in the rental agreement, including a list of the rules. Comment. I said, "Oh, great, were they on vacation too?" Not so much a chef's kiss as a passionate kiss with tongues. If you like the story, subscribe to the Sneaky Pigeon channel to get more cool and interesting stories. And if you want to support us even more, like the video, write a comment, and turn on the bell to receive notifications about the latest videos. See you in the next videos. Bye-bye.